Beyond productivity, the wisdom of rest. Introduction. Fatigue as the diagnosis of the age. We live in a world where fatigue has become the norm. We no longer notice it, fear it, or treat it. We simply live with it. Fatigue is the background noise of our civilization. It hums in every day, in every message, in every morning glance in the mirror. This is not the fatigue that comes after a hard but inspiring day. This is chronic tension that does not release even in sleep. We are tired not so much from work as from the very way we live. Once, labor was a means to create and sustain life. Now it has become a way to justify it. We no longer just work. We prove that we have the right to exist. Our self is embedded in a system of constant production, results, content, emotions, impressions. We even produce rest, turning it into content for others, sharing moments of silence, documenting quietness for likes. Rest itself has ceased to be rest. It has become another task. We live in a world infected by the virus of productivity. This virus does not cause a fever. It causes anxiety. It seems that if we stop, we will fall out of the race, lose our place, become irrelevant. We fear failure, but even more, inactivity. Stopping seems to mean disappearing. In this fear lies the greatest illness of our time, the loss of inner calm, the inability to simply be. In the early 21st century, humanity achieved what it had long sought: automation, technology, convenience. We built machines to work for us, algorithms to think faster than we do. But instead of liberation, we gained more haste. Time, which should have been our ally, became an enemy. We chase it, trying to squeeze more out of each day than is possible. How to do it all? The main question of our time, yet it is wrong. It should be replaced with, why do it all? The paradox of our era is that having become technically freer, we became less free internally. We were freed from physical labor, but trapped in endless tasks. We became managers of our own being, making lists of goals, measuring sleep, steps, emotions. Life turned into a project that requires constant KPI improvements. But a human is not a project. They are a process, and this process is impossible without pauses. Fatigue, discussed by psychologists and philosophers today, is not merely a medical symptom. It is a cultural phenomenon. It signals that civilization is overheated, that our internal engine is running at its limit, long forgetting why movement is needed at all. Fatigue is the language through which the body and soul try to say, it is time to stop. But we have forgotten how to listen. We listen to notifications, not ourselves. Every day, millions of people worldwide start the morning the same way, by checking their phone. The first action is not a breath, a thought, or gratitude. It is a swipe on the screen. The world enters us before we even remember who we are. Thus begins the day of a person living not in reality, but in a stream of stimuli. And this stream demands one thing: attention. We give it, unaware that attention is the fuel of life. Without attention, there is no presence. Without presence, there is no rest. Without rest, there is no life. Fatigue is not an enemy. It is a signal. It points to the boundary beyond which another space begins. A space of calm, silence, and simple being. To enter it, one must dare to do the impossible, to do nothing. The world says, do more, be faster, achieve. Wisdom whispers, stop, look, breathe. In this silence, beyond productivity, begins the wisdom of rest, a forgotten art of living, not for results, but for presence. Chapter 1. Productivity as a new religion. Once, people built temples, now they build schedules. Once, virtue was measured by faith, now it is measured by efficiency. We live in an age where the religion of labor has displaced all other forms of the sacred. We no longer pray to gods, but we perform rituals daily, opening laptops, checking tasks, updating emails, filling spreadsheets. Every click is a small offering to the deity of productivity. The roots of this cult reach deep into history. Max Weber wrote that modern capitalism was born from the Protestant ethic, where labor was a sign of election. Working hard meant being closer to God. From this grew the idea that idleness is almost a sin. Though faith has changed form, the moral remains. Today, it manifests in corporate slogans, motivational quotes, and self-improvement culture. Work has become not just a duty, but a spiritual practice. In the past, religion of labor promised salvation. Today, it demands obedience without hope of paradise. In the world of productivity, there is no completion, no rest, no Sabbath. Only Monday, endlessly repeating. Life exists in a calendar without end, where every goal spawns the next. Achievement does not bring satisfaction, it only resets the counter. We start the race again and again because the system is built on scarcity. You are never enough. Look at the modern language of success, steeped in religious imagery. Find your calling. Follow your destiny. Work on yourself. We speak of career ascent as if climbing toward light. We seek mission, inspiration, higher purpose. Only now not in a temple, but in offices, startups, and personal brands. Even the word calling has lost spiritual depth. It has become business jargon. The culture of productivity replaces vertical spirituality with horizontal competition. Speed and visibility outweigh being. Life becomes a contest. Even leisure becomes a competition. Who travels more? Who meditates more efficiently? Who has a more conscious morning routine? Everything becomes measurable, quantified, charted. Any religion without meaning eventually leads to burnout. The generation raised on ideals of self-realization burns out in their 30s. Those who can do everything no longer know why. We have reached unprecedented comfort and opportunity, and simultaneously, unprecedented inner emptiness. Productivity promised meaning but delivered anxiety. The irony is that a person striving for maximum productivity is often the least alive. Their days are scheduled but lack space. Their life is full but lacks depth. They produce but do not live. The meaning of work has always been in presence, not quantity. Productivity ideology relies on fear. We fear being extra, unsuccessful, out of the flow. This fear becomes a tool of control. Believing our value lies in usefulness, we stop questioning, become predictable, manageable, silent. We feel free, yet we are prisoners of our tasks. Yet within this cult lives fatigue, a whisper of doubt at the heart of belief. It asks, why? And from this question begins the path beyond productivity. For a human is not a machine. They seek meaning. If productivity offers none, it ceases to be virtue and becomes self-destruction. We must return labor to its human dimension, not as worship, but as expression. To work not for quantity, but for the fullness of life. And for this, one must remember, calm is not opposite of work, it is its source. Without rest, work loses roots. Without calm, there is no inspiration. Without inspiration, no creativity. Productivity promises results. The wisdom of rest promises life. Between these poles lies the modern human's path, learning to do and also to be. Chapter 2, The Attention Economy and the Trap of Constant Connection. We live in an era where attention has become the most valuable currency. Oil, gold, data, all matter, but nothing compares to human focus. Attention fuels the modern economy, drives brands, shapes society, and generates wealth. Every moment online has a price. Every click, every swipe, every glance counts. We have become energy sources for a system that lives off our time. Algorithms do not just observe us, they compete for us. They fight for seconds of our gaze, for micro moments of interest. The more intense this competition, the weaker our ability to be at rest. Rest once meant disconnecting. Now it is almost a heroic act. Even on vacation, we remain connected. answering emails, checking messages, posting updates. We do not rest. We broadcast our rest. We do not inhabit the moment. We document it. Silence becomes background for stories. Every minute without a phone triggers anxiety. What if something happened? What if the world moved on without me? This creates a new dependency, constant connection. Being online is not just convenience, but a moral norm. Ignoring messages feels like disrespect. Not refreshing pages feels like falling behind. We live in reactive mode, and this reaction exhausts us more than physical labor. When the mind is always engaged, consciousness fragments. Everything seems urgent, yet nothing has depth. Gradually, one loses contact with oneself. Desires, fears, joys fade. Life becomes inertia, endless doing, responding, producing. Yet within lies emptiness. This emptiness is not inherently frightening. It becomes dangerous when one cannot inhabit it. Any pause triggers panic. We flee silence because we fear facing our own questions. We fear stopping, as we do not know what to do with ourselves when there are no tasks. Rest is not loss of control. It is reclaiming control, returning to our inner self. Burnout is a signal. You are living out of rhythm. It is not just fatigue, but a protective mechanism, a last barrier to self-destruction. It forces us to look into emptiness to find what truly matters. True rest begins when we reclaim our attention. Attention is life. Where our attention is, we exist. If scattered, our soul is scattered. Returning focus is returning home. Silence, solitude, and presence become acts of resistance. In presence, life becomes rich again. Every action gains significance. Rest is not doing nothing. It is fully being. Chapter 3. The Psychology of Exhaustion. Burnout has become almost a badge of maturity. Yet it is not merely psychological fatigue. It is existential. It signals that a person has lost sight of why they live. Fatigue in previous centuries was physical, from labor, cold, disease, tied to meaning. Today, it is spiritual. We tire from endless, meaningless activity. Life runs in constant performance mode, unfinished, unending. This sensation drains deeper than any physical effort. Humans today suffer from stimulus overload and scarcity of silence. The inner space is filled with thoughts, plans, notifications, obligations. Even sleep does not release us. Anxious dreams continue the daily race. Chronic readiness becomes our default. Psychologists call this cognitive noise. The mind is constantly busy, losing the ability to prioritize. Everything seems urgent, yet nothing is essential. Presence with oneself is lost. Life proceeds on autopilot. Fatigue is a message. You live out of rhythm. Rest is not indulgence. It is survival. Gratitude, stillness, slowing down, all return meaning. Even brief moments of quiet, unstructured, restore coherence. True rest is listening to the body, to breath, to life. Chapter 4. The Philosophy of Rest. Across cultures, rest has been understood not as idleness, but as wisdom. In antiquity, ataraxia described freedom from anxiety. For Epicurus, rest was harmony of desires. For Stoics, a fortress of inner calm. Christianity sanctified the Sabbath, rest as returning to God. In Taoism, wu-wei meant effortless action. In Buddhism, shamatha cultivated calm insight. Across these traditions, rest is the source of life, not its pause. Modern humans mistake rest for weakness. In truth, it requires courage to refrain from constant reaction, to trust life flows. Rest is not inaction. It illuminates action. Pause is not the end, but the beginning. Presence in rest teaches us the rhythm of life, inhale and exhale, action and stillness. Without pause, work becomes chaos, words lose weight, living becomes mechanical. True freedom lies in being, not achieving. Chapter 5. The Art of Presence. Modern humans can do almost everything except be here. The body is present, the mind is elsewhere. Presence is the art of seeing without hurry, being inside the moment. Life occurs in the gaps, in breathing, in pauses. Presence turns ordinary moments into richness. Contemplation restores perception. Silence restores attention. Slowness restores the natural rhythm. Being present is not detachment, it is full engagement, where work is full, rest is full. Small acts, turning off notifications, walking without a goal, cultivate this presence. Chapter 6. The Practice of Modern Rest. Rest is a skill. Modern life pulls us outward. Rest begins with inward choice. Silence. Create internal space. Protect 10 minutes without screens. Listen to yourself. Rituals. Simple repeated actions anchor calm. Morning tea, journaling, reading. Nature. Walking in a park returns us to the natural rhythm. Boundaries. Learn to say no. Protect inner space. Body awareness. Exercise, stretch, breathe, sleep. Gratitude. Focus on what exists rather than what is missing. Doing nothing. Trust life to unfold. Stop being productive to restore presence. Rest is not a luxury. It is the source of meaningful action. Life becomes precise and full when emerging from calm. Conclusion. The wisdom of rest as a new dimension of humanity. Humanity long measured strength by output, but true maturity may begin not when we do more, but when we know how to stop. We stand between acceleration and awareness. Technologies meant to free us trap us in urgency. Rest is not weakness, but wisdom, reminding us that humans are not instruments, but living beings. In calm, life gains depth. In silence, clarity. In pause, meaning. Rest is the foundation of productivity, the light illuminating action. The wisdom of rest teaches balance, presence, attention. It is not a retreat, but a return to ourselves, to life, to the world. When humans learn to rest, they learn to be human. Life does not need justification. It is already sufficient. And perhaps, if humanity dares to believe this, the world will finally breathe.